So I think this is part of the problem we are facing today, that so many things are demolished because there is this idea that it makes no sense and nothing else could happen.
We're sitting here in this, I must say, very industrial area in Berlin. We're looking at these two huge concrete structures, and you love them, right?
Yeah.
What is it?
I think what we are really in love with is the history and the idea that is behind it, so that it fell out of use. So these towers were something before. They were kind of like considered not to be functional or make sense in an economic logic. So for years they were sitting as a ruin. So in fact they were built 87, not that long ago, in GDR back then. So in fact we are not only in Berlin, we have been in another state, no? So not so long ago this was another country. And they made sense in the logic back then. They were built as part of a gigantic factory that fell out of use when the wall came down and sat as a ruin because it made no sense to invest in it. So in an Excel calculation, no investor wanted to buy it because the logic was that it's too heavy to demolish because they are so massive concrete towers. So you could have only built something very little compared to the investment that you would have.
Because the plot that they're standing on is quite small.
Exactly. So if you demolish the towers, you would have to invest a lot of money to end up with a tiny piece of land. So this is part of kind of like the story. And so I think what we love about it is the idea that we could challenge this logic, also challenge a market logic that is always kind of like continuing to produce the same.
Yeah.
So in that sense, also the first architectural intervention was not anything built in that sense. The first intervention was more like the Green Hill. So the Green Hill was made by us, and it was part of the idea to kind of like redesign the narrative of that place. So to many people this is known as San Gimignano Lichtenberg. And San Gimignano is this town in Tuscany in the north of Italy.
Very lovely medieval town.
Exactly, yeah, where you have these famous towers. So the idea came up to say, okay, so if no one can imagine something else, then the old ideological system, then the old use as an industrial area, then this failure in GDR, we have to not only do something in a built way, but we have to redesign the narrative. So we claimed it as San Gimignano, and it in that sense worked out that more people are kind of like understanding that you can change the perception of something that others would consider as unvaluable.
Yeah. So it was to sort of change out the way we look at structures like this.